Ravnica has long been part of Magic the Gathering, but now it is an explorable world in the D&D multiverse.
We had an idea about a year ago to look at doing a crossover between Magic and D&D. And Magic has lots of really great worlds, really interesting places where they've done sets. And by the nature of the game, since it is a competitive game, head-to-head, naturally each of these settings has an adversarial faction, right? There's one faction fighting the other, or there's an event. There's always action. So it's really easy to imagine making them into D&D settings. And so we decided to run with Ravnica.
The last time that Magic visited Ravnica, the story was that the Guild Pact is this magical force that keeps the 10 guilds in balance with each other. It had been dissolved some years previous. So the last time we went there, it came back manifested in the person of Jace Beleren, one of our Planeswalker characters. He's a Planeswalker, though, which means he travels from world to world a lot, and he's been pretty prominent in our story lately, spending a lot of time elsewhere, and running into some tension with some other Planeswalkers on Ravnica who care about Ravnica and want to see that balance in place. But he's gone all the time, and with the Guild Pact gone, the guilds start realizing that maybe there's a little bit more leeway for them to step on each other's turf and upset that balance that the Guild Pact keeps in place.
For us, it was really just about taking what's the really interesting element of the setting that makes it distinct from other settings that we could choose. And we really settled on the guilds. That's why the title Guildmasters Guide.
This book is going to be, because it's a whole world-spanning city, we're focusing on the 10th district. Right. And this is kind of like where all the action's going to happen here. All 10 guilds are present in the 10th district. There's a place called the Chamber of the Guild Pact, which the Guild Pact itself is this binding magic that keeps balance between all the guilds.
Really using the guilds, much like they function in the card game, as the lens through which you view the world, or the sort of template you use to build your character.
It allows players to be as expressive as possible. The whole place is run by essentially 10 guilds that have different philosophical approaches to the way a city should function. Ravnica itself is this sprawling metropolis that covers the entire world.
And the guilds within Ravnica form the basic, I guess you could almost say like civic building blocks. Each guild has its specialty, it has its role, and it has its viewpoint. And there's a natural tension between them, because not only do the guilds have a function, here's a thing they do in the world, but it also comes with a philosophy that's driven by the two colors from Magic's color pie, the 5 colors of Magic, that reflects their ethos.
In D&D, it's abstracted a little bit from the colors of Magic, and we're emphasizing more philosophy or just the things that these guilds care about the most.
So if you're Boros, that's red-white. White being about control and order, and red being about sort of passion and energy, and those two coming together to have these very zealous defenders of order. And so that naturally says this is what this faction wants to do. Invariably, it's going to have them entangled with the other guilds in a potentially very adversarial way.
It's really interesting. When you start with a D&D character, oftentimes people say, okay, I want to play this race, I want to play this class. And things kind of, once you have that concept, you're like, okay, I know what my stats are to accommodate that. And your background kind of rolls into that. But the background is just that, kind of in the background for a lot of players. On Ravnica, the guilds are so focal to the experience of playing there that choosing one's guild and thinking about what kind of guild you want to affiliate with is really kind of structurally one of the new things that this book will bring to you.
The very beginning of the character creation section in the book has a number of ways to think about what guild you might want to play in. There's a flowchart you can go through. We suggested you can answer it as the character you might want to play or as yourself, because those might be two very different paths down the flowchart.
Your guild takes the place of your background. So it provides you some basic skills, and it gives you a special ability that's more aimed at exploration and interaction rather than combat. And then within the guild, Well, you can make anything you want. We give you guidelines. We say, if you're playing Boros, here are the races that are typically members of Boros, and here are the character classes that they also typically follow. And so the idea is to give you a very guided experience, and to also build into that background element. You think in 5th edition, backgrounds give you things like your bonds and your flaw. The backgrounds in Ravnica, since they represent the guilds, also give you contacts in the setting. They help set up maybe some of your adversarial relationships. They help set up some of your allies. And they help give you a clear view of who your character is within the guild. And then what's really fun, what I think is the real interesting thing that the book is trying to pull off, is that the Dungeon Master then looks at the players, looks at the guilds they've selected, and then we give you an entire adventure and campaign building system based on the guilds. You can look at the guilds the players have selected, then the book has suggestions for good adversarial guilds, then each guild gets a section on building adventures that are driven by it. So that includes things like typical plots, like what might the guild be after that you might want to stop or that you'd want to oppose. What are typical NPCs and monsters that might be involved? What are locations in Ravnica that they may either specific ones or more generic ones? So it gives you kind of a breathing room as a Dungeon Master. You can say, okay guys, everyone make your characters. We're going to play this one session. And then after that adventure, you also have kind of a direction of, okay, here's kind of maybe where the players want to go, where the characters want to go. And now I also know their guilds, so I can start building out the second arc. The way I kind of see it is you might play that adventure over a session or two. In between, like you're running that adventure as a Dungeon Master, you're planning out the next phase of the campaign.
You can pre-order the Guildmasters Guide to Ravnica on dndbeyond.com by clicking on the link in this video description. I'm Todd Kenrick, your host. Thank you for watching.